What's up, everybody? It's Aristotle Full Throttle. I'm here with my very good friend, Mr. Travis Thompson, and we're going to talk today about that deleted scene but with the Joker from the Batman. Did you guys see that? It's crazy. I haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it yet, so we're excited to actually watch that, review it live with you here on Aristotle Full Throttle. Travis, are you excited? Did you see the Batman, first of all?
I'm stoked.
You're stoked?
I saw the Batman. I have opinions on the Batman.
Okay.
And I'm excited to share them.
Yes. What was your general feeling at leaving the theater?
Well, that's a loaded question, because my feelings leaving the theater don't exactly match my feelings at this current moment in time.
Oh, yeah?
But I loved it leaving the theater.
Really?
I loved it.
Okay.
I was pretty tired, though.
Yeah.
And I believe that may have clouded my judgment a bit. Just a bit.
The movie is 3 hours long.
It's 3 hours long and at least 30 minutes too long.
30 minutes too long?
Arguably more.
I would have said 19 minutes too long.
Okay. I would need to look at the rundown when, because I have feelings of when it should have ended.
Really?
And it's before the third act begins.
Okay.
It's basically my take.
I heard that the studio wanted more. They were like, give us some more.
That's interesting, because that was my assumption.
Yeah.
So my feelings about it are that the first two acts were a phenomenally executed noir detective story set in Gotham.
Yeah.
With Batman serving as the audience's eyes and ears into the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, he doesn't really do a ton that actually affects the narrative in a lot of senses, right? He is kind of an observer, an ineffectual observer to some degree. When he tries to get involved, it doesn't tend to work out the way he hopes.
Yeah.
Right? But through that, I think they tell like this really amazing detective story, this gritty kind of powerful tale that just feels so immersive because it's Gotham in a way we've not seen before, and it's superhero storytelling in a way that we haven't seen before, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I thought it was more of like a really good detective noir story. But my friend, I like the way you said that it's the Gotham how we've never seen it before, because this Gotham felt like it was his own thing. Like, totally. I feel like the Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan felt like it felt specifically like, oh, we're in Chicago or we're in Pittsburgh. Sure, yeah. You know, but totally. Tim Burton's felt like kind of, Tim Burton's Gotham. Yeah. But this Gotham felt like it's like a Blade Runner, its own world.
Yeah, it did not need to exist in the context of a superhero film, right? And that was my favorite thing about it, was you could take much of that script and port it into a different, real world atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it could still be an awesome tale, right? But the fact that it is set in Gotham, that Batman, one of my favorite characters in the world, is, the protagonist, and that the Riddler is portrayed in this really grounded way.
Yeah.
It's David Fincher's Seven meets Batman.
Clearly. It's pretty, yeah.
It's a very clear homage, I guess, would maybe be.
Or homage.
Homage?
Yeah.
Homage.
Homage.
But yeah, and that is really what I loved about it.
Yeah.
And then at some point in the film, without too many spoilers, I don't know how we're handling spoilers.
We could spoil. Listen, guys, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Batman, and we're going to watch the Joker scene from the Batman, which neither of us have seen. It's a deleted scene that Matt Reeves just added to the internet yesterday, and it's going to be on the Blu-ray. So there's going to be spoilers, heavy spoilers involved with the Batman. So go ahead with your spoilers. I'm just giving the warning.
I think from the moment that the Riddler is captured, everything falls off the rails after that.
Really?
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, my opinion is that everything from that point on feels very contrived, I want to say. I'm not sure that's exactly what I mean, but it to me, it doesn't. Everything after that point no longer feels earned by the script, by the story.
Really?
To me, they said, okay, we've completed the detective arc. We've completed the kind of grounded Seven story that we were interested and excited to tell, and now we need to create an excuse to have a more cinematic, large-scale superhero ending.
Yeah.
Big action and big stakes and citywide tension and drama. That's how it felt to me. It was like, okay, now we need to go take things to the next level. Now we need to elevate. And it didn't feel earned to me at all. It felt lazy.
I felt that I kind of think that there was about 15 minutes in there that were a little bit too much. Like it's just more exposition, a little bit more character development, not necessarily important to the story of the plot. But what I did like, however, were the entrances. A lot of people made really amazing entrances throughout the movie. For instance, Batman's first entrance, he comes walking out of the shadows slowly.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Also, I actually had to run and pee during this because the movie's 3 hours long, and I drank a giant Diet Coke. But I had to go run and pee during this moment. But when I saw it a second time, the Batman, the entrance of the Batmobile was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's just firing up in the shadows.
I loved the film. Like, even though I hated the third act, it's still one of my favorite Batman movies I've ever seen. Like, I loved, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm even more critical, probably, of the third act than is really deserved, honestly, is because I loved the rest of it so much that I just wanted it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the fact that it really wasn't in a lot of ways.
Okay.
At the end, just disappointing. But it's a great movie. You should see it 100%.
Yeah. Well, I saw it the second time. The second time is actually better than the first time when I saw it. Sure. Also, there's a really couple of more entrances that were amazing. Catwoman walks out of sort of the shadows when she first shows up as Selena Kyle. Also, when Batman shows up at the end to fight off all of the incels, he blows up the roof. He's like, I have a really interesting thing that I want to play from my friend Lee Boxleitner. He just posted it on his Instagram, the Lee with no name. He's a big TikToker also, and I want to play his assessment of the Batman. I want to see if you agree with that. Okay. Also, Wesley Plotke, happy 25th anniversary of Ready to Die by Biggie Smalls. Yo, I love it when they call me Big Papa. Listen, Biggie Smalls, we love you. Thank you for... Did you see the documentary for Biggie Smalls?
I have not.
It's good. It's real good. His mom is hilarious. His mom's like, I don't know what he's trying to do, but I just give him, I just give him love. I say, hey, I don't understand his music.
I bet that's a spot-on impression.
Yeah, it's close. She's a Jamaican lady from New York. But let's play Wesley's intro. Wesley, welcome to the
Wesley.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Oh wait, watch out, because Wesley's going to show up right where you are right now. Oh!
Wesley, don't do me like that.
Yeah, Wesley. That is an ever-evolving intro for Wesley. It's just started out with Corn Pop, but then it added... Because Wesley is a proponent for Windows machines, and I was just demonstrating how Windows machines often mess up.
You're allowed to be wrong, Wesley.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, now what I want to play for everybody, Wesley included, is my friend Lee did this today on his Instagram, and I want to see if you all agree. Wait, hold on a second.
So if you haven't seen it, keep scrolling. If you have, I have a big question that hopefully someone will be able to stitch with an answer. Was Batman himself even necessary to the story of the Batman? The Riddler was the one to unravel all the corruption in Gotham. Alfred was the one to solve the Riddler's cipher. Batman didn't stop Alfred from getting blown up. The biggest clue that the Riddler left, Batman wouldn't have been able to figure out if it wasn't for Penguin giving it away. Batman couldn't stop the DA from blowing up. Catwoman was the one who got Batman his second biggest clue at the nightclub. An off-camera character let everyone know where the Riddler was so he could be arrested, which turned out to be his plan the entire time. By the time Batman actually did figure out a clue, it was too late and all the levees were blown up. Then Batman isn't able to stop the new mayor from being shot. Luckily, the guy who shot her had terrible aim. If you think about it, the only bad guys Batman takes out himself were a few meaningless thugs. If you really look at it, the movie would have started and ended the same way had Batman not been there.
Now, what do you guys think about that? I have some thoughts about that.
Well, I think I saw that on Instagram, and I think I stole his concept in my earlier spiel.
Oh, really?
Because that is definitely where I recognized he's right. Batman really does not need to be there a ton to affect change in that specific detective plot.
Listen, I do agree with that for the most part. However, I think that's almost the point of the movie.
Yeah, I don't think it actually says anything about how well written or... I don't think it affects how good the movie is.
Well, I'm saying I think it's part of the theme of the movie. Like,
I do agree. Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think he's not Batman yet.
He is ineffectual to some degree.
Yeah, and he's like literally figuring out. The first time he sees the edge of the building, he's like, scared. And then he puts his faith into his flight suit, which is amazing. That was a great scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And of course he is important to the story, but he is being manipulated by the Riddler the entire time, and the audience doesn't recognize it, and he doesn't recognize it until later in the story. But
yes,
he is integral and important, but more so to the Riddler's plot than the films, in an arguable way. Interesting.
I mean, I think that it. I want to talk to Lee also, see if maybe I'll text him. Lee, if you're watching.
What's up, Lee?
What's up, Lee?
I stole your idea.
No, I don't. I think it's an interesting conclusion to make. I think it's a very good discussion to have. I think, though, like a lot of people make fun of Star Wars Episode 8, and they're like, nothing happened in the movie. It's like, well, it was kind of the idea was that they're going to fail over and over again. And I know people didn't like that, and they weren't satisfied by that. Also, in the Batman, I think he's just learning from everybody. He's learning from, he's smart, he's got potential, but he's learning from Gordon, he's learning from Catwoman, he's learning from the Penguin, he's learning from everybody.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And I mean, I haven't written my essay on this piece yet. I've only seen it once. So I don't have fully formulated thoughts and opinions. But I believe that part of where the resistance to the Batman's role in the narrative might come from, if you were to say, it kind of feels like he was just there, and that doesn't feel great as a Batman fan. I believe that is coming from a lack of the third act's ability to really pull everything together and make you feel like the Batman did kind of grow and learn as a character. I mean, they kind of force it in.
Yeah.
He can see the sunlight, and
right.
he's learned something about his place in
He's
Gotham.
guiding
but
the
they
people.
Really just kind of force that in. They make you feel that. I didn't feel it personally. They make you feel that you're meant to feel that, I think. I liked that the part actually when he was, because he's dark the whole time, and he's making the criminals fear him. He's making everybody fear him. It's like everybody needs to fear him, and then in the end he's like, oh, I can actually be a hero and be a symbol of hope and be a symbol of light. I would buy that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of a flaw in that argument that the film is making, in which the people who fear the Batman are the criminals, which are the people who are meant to fear the Batman.
Yeah.
Right? The little boy whose dad was just murdered doesn't fear the Batman. Gordon doesn't fear the Batman. I don't get a sense that much of Gotham fears the Batman outside of the criminals who are meant to. And that's where that kind of arc doesn't work for me, is that I get it that that's the arc that they're intending. It didn't feel earned for me.
Okay.
I think there's just a little bit of something else that could have worked really well, and that's to your earlier point about studio interference. That was my first impression. Was like, this feels very much like the studio, an arc a studio would love to say, this is what should happen,
right?
And let's have this big, final scene, with Gotham, up in smoke and all of this. That felt very studio to me. Yeah. And the story was not a studio picture in a lot of ways, right? It could have had a much smaller, more intimate kind of arc in the end that I think would have felt more powerful, because it's not what we're used to seeing in superhero movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think though, to speak to your point earlier, just trying to ride these levels, make sure that we're of equal volume. To your point earlier, I think that the studio might have been like, at the end of Act 2, when they capture the Riddler, they're kind of like, okay, we're done now, or that could have been the entire arc of the movie. Which, by the way, is played by Paul Dano. I'm Uncle Ron says it's like the New Frontier when Batman literally says, I was trying to frighten criminals, not children. In New Frontier, I'm Uncle Ron. Is New Frontier a comic run or a graphic novel? I'm Uncle Ron knows a lot about the comic books here. Let's play I'm Uncle Ron's intro.
Here it is, my most likable song ever. Coca-Cola, lipstick ring, go dance all night, kiss me, just kiss me, Nefertiti. Lipstick, kiss me, lipstick ring, go, that's the way you like it.
This is your most likable song ever?
Yeah.
People will love it.
All right. So I'm Uncle Ron says it's a comic that turned into an animated film. He also says about superheroes gaining their popularity during the Kennedy administration. Interesting.
That's actually an interesting point. I'd be curious what Ron has to say about this, just because that quote almost, I feel like that is exactly kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The one child that is important to the film that Batman feels a very close kinship with after losing his parents, and if he had been super scared of the Batman, that had been some type of emotional beat where the Batman says, "I'm trying to help this child, and even he fears me." That could have been an interesting element,
right?
But, it wasn't.
Well,
it wasn't.
I think I don't know. I like the movie. I think that's it's definitely not perfect. I gave it a solid A for what would you give it overall though? Like,
I think an A is a pretty fair grade. I think maybe an A minus. Yeah, because I think there are very few A pluses in cinema.
Yeah,
and, it wasn't perfect, so it's not an A for me.
Okay.
But the first two acts really pretty much were like.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: with a bit of a different ending for me personally, it could have been an A.
Right.
Plus.
Right.
And it missed the mark a bit for me.
What did you think about the scene with the Riddler?
Which one?
With the scene with the Riddler in being interrogated by Batman.
I mean, maybe I need a second viewing because I was tired at that point. But at that point, I felt like I was off the rails a bit with what was happening.
Right.
The Riddler's plan didn't make sense to me anymore at that point. And I liked the juxtaposition of like the Riddler knows who Batman is.
Yeah.
We think, and then
yeah.
It's not clear by the end of the conversation. It seems clear that he doesn't, but we don't really know what games he's still playing.
That's what I think. That's actually my contention is that they could still later on be like, oh yeah, no, I know. But and the motivation being, someone said, well, what would the Riddler's motivation be to keep that a secret? It's like, well, he's got power over Batman now. Like he can just have that as his trump card in his back pocket at any time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And speaking of Paul Dano, wonderful performance.
Yeah,
wonderful. And I don't know if this is controversial, but I loved the depiction of the Riddler in the film.
Me too.
As just like basically a serial killer. Yeah,
it's Zodiac. It's two David Fincher movies. It's Seven and Zodiac.
Totally. And I love that because I love, especially in a live action Batman film, I want it to feel as grounded and close to the reality that I experience as possible while still being a badass Batman movie. Right?
That's what I really liked about it. I'm Uncle Ron says the Batman isn't the best Batman theatrical film though. Mask of the Phantasm is.
That's hard to argue.
I'm Uncle Ron also says they could have ended the film at the Riddler interrogation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it would need a rewrite. I mean, there would need to be a different...
They'd have to rewrite, re-edit it.
But it wouldn't be that extensive, to be honest. I would not be surprised if the original script was closer to what Ron is referring to here and kind of what my gut felt and feels.
Right.
I would not be shocked if the script was closer to that story. Story than what ended up happening.
I think there was probably an extensive reshoot. Because there's even scenes where you look at Robert Pattinson's hair, and it's like changing lengths every other shot. Like cuts back, it's changing color and length. Like the funeral scene. The funeral scene for sure. I liked the funeral scene. However, what took me right out of the funeral scene, by the way, was, and even the second time I watched it, was the guy, Peter Sarsgaard, has a bomb around his neck. He gets out of a car that just drove through a crowd, and the crowd's just like, hey, wait a second. They're not running. There's no pandemonium. They're not running out of the building. And then someone's like, he's got a bomb around his neck. And then the crowd is just still standing there. They're just standing.
We've all seen Saw. Nothing to worry about here.
Exactly. And then Gordon says, we got to clear this place out. And then they run. So, I'm just like, you guys, Matt Reeves, you missed the mark on that moment because it made me just go, what the F? Like, the people would be screaming and running out of that place as soon as the car smashed through the place. So I found that to be a little bit unbelievable. So you think the movie should have ended at the Riddler interrogation scene? It could have ended that way, I think, maybe through... I agree with you guys that it might have been more of that structure originally. conceived, but then maybe the studio was like, hey, we want more stuff, which I don't mind. I actually don't mind that it's 3 hours because it does feel like a meal. It feels like a meal of a movie.
Totally.
And it feels like the culture we're in now when we binge TV shows. And
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem at all with long films.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be long, you have to earn that time.
Yeah.
You have to earn those minutes because you know as a filmmaker that your audience is going to check out at a certain point.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not holding their interest, and it's gonna happen sooner than you want it to.
Right.
Wanted to, right?
Yeah. There was like 1 or 2 minutes like every so often that could have just been.
Especially in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, by the time we are catching the Riddler, the audience is ready for it. I felt as an audience member, I was ready for it to be wrapping up. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries.
And then when you realize, oh, we're not even really close.
Yeah.
We're not even really close to wrapping up at this point. It's a bit of a okay. Buckle up. Let's hope that they can keep the momentum going. And for me, they didn't.
Right. Now, what we're going to get to on this episode of Aristotle Full Throttle is we are going to watch the deleted scene with the Joker, actually. And I haven't seen it yet. It was released yesterday by Matt Reeves on the internets, and it's going to be on the Blu-ray. So we're about to watch that right now. But before we do, let me just read this comment from Uncle Ron. So many Batman adaptations trying to muscle in the whole new Man's Land storyline from the 90s. Well, yeah, I think there's so much source material that they're going to just constantly cherry pick from the last 70, 80 years of Batman. So
let's give Matt Reeves credit. I think it was really intelligent to make what seemed to be his most cinematic references not Batman related at all, right? 70s Zodiac, maybe as well.
Yeah.
I think that was a very intelligent choice as a filmmaker, and I hope more superhero movies kind of follow that trend, right?
Yeah.
Why not base your material on films that work?
Right.
Cinema is a different platform, different medium, right?
Yeah.
So if you're following, I think cinematic history a bit more than comic book history, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, it's like kind of like Chinatown meets all
I've
of
heard
this.
that too.
Yeah. So I think, and also what I loved about it, it did really feel the most so far to me, the most realistic in the sense, because even Christopher Nolan's Batman was like, it's a little bit, he's like training as a ninja and he's doing this, and it's cool. I love that Batman origin, but this Batman looked like he did go to the army tactical store to put together his whole suit, and he did think of just about everything. And I love the juxtaposition between the Riddler, when we find his little hive, and because we keep cutting to Batman's lair, which is cool because we never see the Batmobile until it's fully revealed. It's covered in tarp. He's got all of the spark plugs perfectly laid out. He's got every engine piece perfectly. This is Batman's thoughts. He's very meticulous. He's very detail orientated, if that's a word. And and the Riddler was like scattered. He was like everything was.
That's a cool point. Yeah.
So it was like a nice little juxtaposition of how they're both sort of planning, but one's scattered, one's very organized. Also, I think that plays into a lot of the psychological stuff, because I would contend that a lot of these Batman stories deal with mental illness, obviously, because he's capturing the criminally insane, throwing them into the Arkham Asylum, and then there's different psychological. Exactly, Batman himself. It's also revealed in this movie that he's an Arkham relative. His mom.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, Martha.
Yeah.
was so, but that's cool because here's the thing: mental illness does affect a lot of people in the real world. Obviously, I think it affects just everybody in some way or another. Either you have it, or you've got someone close to you that has some kind of thing that they're dealing with mentally. So it's really interesting to see the different takes on different types of personalities, especially Batman's, because he's very focused all of the time. He's very OCD in a lot of ways. Like he has to be. But so there's an interesting psychological take, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there is a reason that the Batman is so beloved by so many people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us can relate to him and the fact that we all have struggles, we all have shit that holds us back, and he takes those struggles and he isn't perfect in any way. He doesn't pretend to be. He is dark and brooding and all that good stuff. But he does his best to make good out of his trauma. Right?
Yeah.
To make the world a better place in his way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that we all really hope we can do in our lives.
Yeah.
To some degree, right? We all want to make the world a better place, unless you're, the Riddler.
Right.
Crazy. And even there, you want to make the world a better place.
In your own way.
Doing it.
Yeah.
In your own way. Your own flawed, imperfect way, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because I also want to say that there is no Bruce Wayne in this movie. There's zero Bruce Wayne. It's all Batman all the time. Even when he's not wearing the costume. If you watch him, and he even says this is all that matters. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be interesting to see in perhaps future movies, is because Alfred's like, look, the Waynes are important. You're a Wayne. I was like, your father was a friend of mine. I basically raised you as a Wayne. You need to take on that identity too. And he's just like, no, he rejects it. This entire movie. Yeah. Even when he's at the funeral, he's walking around as Batman. Watch his body language.
It brings me to a very unrelated reference. I just started watching that show Abbott Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with it at all?
No.
It's a great little kind of office type of Parks and Rec show about teachers in an underprivileged school. But anyway, the older teachers in one of the early episodes are giving a lesson to the younger teacher who's screwing things up by trying so hard to make things better. And they're like, the lesson you're going to learn in this business is you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of everybody else. Yeah. And I think that's a lesson Bruce Wayne is going to have.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's very true. And well, the thing is, the end of this movie, The Batman, really opens the door for Bruce Wayne to step in and be a hero as Bruce Wayne, to be like, hey, I'm going to fund the project and rebuild Gotham, actually. So we've just got joined by Studio 8H. Welcome, Studio 8H. Please.
Live from LA, it's AFT. Starring Is This Will, K-Grip, Ayanolita, OCW 5000, 420 Artists, Raccoon Raiders, and now introducing Studio 8H.
And Ange, welcome to the show. Ange says she believes that she got a glimpse of Bruce in one scene. Tell us about that right after your intro.
Say, baby, I can destroy everything, but I'm not. What? But I can, baby. Shut up and give us your money.
All right.
Man himself.
Ange is here. Welcome, Ange.
What up, Ange?
I can destroy everything, but I'm not. But I can. What?
All right, tell us what's going on with it. You saw Bruce in one scene. Ange says when he wasn't in the bat suit, his hair was almost always in his. Let me move this over here so I can read it better. His face masking or covering his face. But when Alfred was in the hospital, his hair wasn't in his face when we saw him. Oh, interesting. And we saw him vulnerable. Yeah.
Very intelligent.
Thank you, Ange. Now that you say that, I do recollect that is the most vulnerable scene for both of them. Because Alfred, he's near death. He was
Their
near
relationship was cute in the movie.
I liked it a lot, actually. Yeah.
Great acting. Wonderful cast.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think all of the acting was really spot on.
There was one character I didn't love, but that's okay.
Tell us.
I felt like the mayor didn't. Or mayor-elect that
oh,
got
right.
shot. There was something about that character was just a little off for me in the world. I don't know. It didn't fit.
It didn't fit into the world. Maybe they were like just hired that day.
I don't even think it probably wasn't an acting issue. Maybe just a writing issue.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. That one didn't do it for me. Every other character I thought was pretty good.
I thought they were pretty good too. Like mostly, yeah. I especially the relationship between Gordon and Batman.
Oh yeah.
I was like, give me a series of that.
I loved Gordon. Yeah, totally.
Just watching Gordon. It's like, I'm gonna help you escape. How are you gonna do that? Just punch me across the face. He's like, you could have pulled that punch.
Even Catwoman, a character I think is incredibly hard to bring to the screen.
So hard, and I think Zoe Kravitz did a great job.
I think so too. Yeah. And oh man, Colin Farrell is the Penguin.
Incredible.
I didn't even know it was him, and I try to stay away from as much information about movies I care about as I can until I didn't even realize it was him until after the movie. My friend told me. I was like,
no
blown
way.
away.
Yeah,
So
everybody's
good.
still kind of like, really?
Yeah, so good.
That was Colin Farrell? He was awesome. He's like, who are you guys, the world's greatest detectives? And I was like, I see that Easter egg. So good. I'm Uncle Rod says, you can have your Batman, Ange. It's all about Big Blue. Oh, there's a rivalry going on. Let me just remind everybody. I'm Uncle Ron's favorite superhero, being Superman in the DC realm. And Ange, being the ultimate DC fan, also the ultimate Batman fan.
It's a trap.
Watch out.
Game over, man. It's game over.
All right. Well, them's fighting words. But guess what, I'm Uncle
I
Ron?
can destroy everything, but I'm not. But I can.
And I'm a fan, Edge. I'm a fan already.
All right. Can we turn Travis's mic up? Yes. Travis, just get a little bit. If you can get right up onto that microphone, I think that'll help. Right up on it. Yeah. Let me just put this in your nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can taste it.
Yeah. There we go. I turned it up. It's just. Let me know if it's distorting. Because here, try it again.
Me?
Yeah.
Testing.
Hello,
Ange.
Test. Yeah. So as long as you're not distorting, then it should be good. Try it again.
I can try again.
There you
right
go.
Now.
Perfect. Let me know if that's good. Ange says, I mean, I like Superman. I don't know how many times I got to repeat it. And that's true.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
It sounds like his mic isn't on at all.
Oh, no.
It is, though. Uh-oh. How about this? Try that.
How about this? Is that better?
Is that better?
I was a theater kid. I can just...
Oh, man. Let me see.
Get loud if I need to.
It's not bad. Okay, let me fix that. I could fix this. I think I can fix this. Output source, input source, input. Let me just do the.
I would fill the dead air, but
You can't. Hold on. Nope. Uh-oh, hold on a second. There we go.
How's that?
Let's see. We're getting there. Huh. Let me try this. Two. What about now? Hold on.
How am I sounding? Oh.
Did you hear it?
I started to hear something in my headphones for a second.
Yeah, I heard that for a second. Just hang tight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. This is the worst audio program. Like, I can't even. There we go. How about now?
All right, is that better?
Ooh, that's hot.
That's hot. Well, now I'm now.
Okay. As fixing the show. 45% of the show is fixing the show.
That's low as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Now, how's that better? I mean, is that better?
Nah.
Yes, he's louder than you. Okay.
Perfect.
That's perfect. That's what we want.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
All right. So I should have done this since the start. Everybody, if you're just joining us, yes, now we're starting
Now
the
you
show
can hear
now.
me.
We just got to say everything again. Just remember everything you said.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Oh yeah. See, I forgot to do this beforehand. But 45%. This is pretty good now.
I will be back. Don't worry. I'll be here anytime.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, I should have done that.
All right. So
thank
where
you.
were we?
Thank you, proper modulation. This is going to be a great. So now we fixed that. We fixed that. It's going to be a great podcast tomorrow. Sorry, guys, for your listening to the first half of the show. But right now, we're going to actually watch from the top, everybody. 5, 6, 7, 8. You remember the steps? Okay. 45. Studio 88 says 45% is fixing the show. The other half is tuning guitars. That is true.
At least we haven't gotten to our main segment yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a half tuning guitars. Studio 8H, that leaves 5%. That leaves 5%.
He takes the 5%.
And it's the upper 5%. The 5% of the show is 99% stupid. All right. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to watch the scene with the Joker. The second half of the show, we're gonna watch the scene. I have not seen it yet. Our friend Travis Thompson has not seen it yet. And now, we're going to watch it together. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Oh, you can't hear it? Hang on a second. Travis can't hear it. Hold on. I got this. Let me see. Wait, hold on. I got this. I'm going to fix the show.
Hearing anyway? You know?
I'm going to fix the show.
Throw some subtitles on that bad boy.
Audio properties. Yeah, throw some subtitles on.
Give me an AirPod. I can
yeah.
I can do one.
Yeah. Just listen to it with the AirPod. Okay. There we go. Yeah, just wipe that off. It'll be fine. All right. Starting again. Let's start again.
Perfect.
You can hear it. All right. Good That's the Joker.
Trying to watch this, thinking
I would like to deposit $12.
it's hard being Batman these days. Not a lot of money in it.
Present.
Ooh.
Almost our anniversary, isn't it? There's a serial killer. I want your perspective. First anniversary, paper. What makes you think I come so cheap? I thought you'd be curious. You think I could offer this stuff? Don't you? You have pictures.
This is very Hannibal Lecter.
It's violence. It's so baroque. Oh, he likes little puzzles, doesn't he? So meticulous. Like he's been planning this his whole life. I know who he is. Oh.
Very Lecter.
Who is he? He's a nobody. Wants to be somebody. The mayor, the commissioner. Yeah. He's got ambition. You think his motive is political? Oh, no. This is very, very personal. He feels these people have all wronged him. Probably goes way back. Unhealed wounds, stolen lunch money. Why is he writing to me? Maybe he's a fan of yours? Or maybe he's got a grudge against you too. Maybe you're the main course. Any theories? Not yet. Really? You're normally so ahead of the curve. But something is different this time. This is very upsetting to you. Let's get back to him. Why? You're so much more fun. I'm not here to talk about me. What are you here to talk about? I want to know how he thinks. You know exactly how he thinks. Have you read this file? You two have so much in common.
Avengers. So he's even more righteous. Oh, are you afraid he makes you look soft? You're wasting my time. Okay. I'll tell you what I really think. I think you don't really care about his motives, whether he loves or hates you. I think somewhere deep down, you're just terrified. Because you're not sure he's wrong, huh? You think they deserved it, huh? You think they deserved it.
Wow. All right. Now that was the scene that was deleted from the movie for, I think, good reason.
I don't.
You don't.
I watched that. I was like, this
That
should have been in the film
I
before the last 35 minutes.
okay. Well, I think I don't know. Like I think that it almost, if you were gonna cut something, that might have been something to cut for sure.
Okay,
but
hear me out.
Yeah.
Scrap the whole third act. Scrap the flooding and the bombs and all the bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Add that scene in earlier on in the film. Focus the final climax on highlighting the real contrast between the Riddler and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Something that he has every reason to be afraid of confronting.
Mm.
I love the really putting a pin in the idea that he probably does, to some degree, as the audience I think does, feel that the people being murdered and throughout the film do deserve it to some very real extent. And you really could have such a powerful final confrontation between the Riddler and Batman, mano a mano, similar to the interrogation scene,
Right.
but without the kind of what I thought was a contrived, I plan to get caught the whole time kind of twist.
The bad guy always plans to get caught.
Right. And you can have that cathartic moment we were alluding to earlier where the Batman is forced to kind of confront some of his choices in a really powerful scene that doesn't require any action, doesn't require a big set piece.
Yeah.
For me, that would have been so much more poignant and powerful in the context of the film.
I mean, my favorite movie of all time is arguably, I can argue with myself about it, Silence of the Lambs. And that was a very, 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 even Ange in the comments says Red Dragon vibes. Yes. Studio 8H says, who's playing the Joker? Leto? Actually, no, not this time, actually.
Yeah.
It's, what's his name? Barry Keoghan is playing the Joker this time. What did you think about the look of the Joker, this interpretation? Because he looks like a clown.
I loved it. I thought that performance was incredible. I think if them, as an actor, I would have been really disappointed to have that scene cut.
Yeah.
And those, what I don't know how long that was. Was that 4 minutes or so? 3 minutes?
It was about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. You kind of could have stolen a lot of the picture in those 4 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And man, I think I loved it. Yeah. I realized that in the context of a 3-hour film that needs to get cut. Yeah. But you didn't have to be a 3-hour movie to begin with, right?
Well, okay. Well, what did you guys think out there about that scene? Ange says that flooding scene hit too hard.
Oh, N.O. New Orleans. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that maybe. If I'm reading into that correctly. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
True. He looks very Arkham City Joker Venom-y, says Ange N.O. Yeah, I wonder. There's some Easter eggs in the movie too. I just, as an aside, what do you think Batman injected himself with? Venom?
Was that during the final climax?
When he was like,
what should we be calling that scene? I can't really remember the context of the attack.
I would say that is the climactic.
Where are they hiding? Is it
they're
a stadium?
in Gotham Square Garden.
Oh right, yeah. Gotham. So the GSG scene.
Yes.
What were you saying?
Well, he injects himself and suddenly becomes
Right, yeah.
adrenalized.
I assumed it was adrenaline, I guess.
Yeah, I assumed it was adrenaline too, but it was green. So it could be venom. It could
That's
be
interesting.
Yeah, which is very interesting because obviously Bane has an addiction to venom and is
Do
constantly...
we know, or do you know, I guess, where the source of venom is in the comic book stories? Like,
I think between Ange and O and I'm Uncle Run, they would know where the venom originates.
It'd be interesting in this run if it was like a formula that Batman himself had formulated and created for himself that somehow gets out into the world or into the wrong hands,
and then Bane finds
gets
it.
That would be kind of a cool
Yeah,
twist.
he actually is like the creator of Bane in some ways.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Which would actually make sense if a big kind of driving force of this film was the idea that Batman also created the Riddler, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we see in Batman a lot, is that, you know, the supervillains that play Gotham are a direct reflection of his involvement in Gotham to begin with, right? They did not exist until Batman became.
And to quote Heath Ledger's Joker, "You complete me," which is very true. Hey, Judella19, welcome to the show. Judella19 says that deleted scene was better than Bruce drawing on the floor with chalk. I agree. Actually, I agree. And let's play Judy's intro.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
That, of course, is the intro featuring the classic, the iconic, the legendary band Chumbawamba.
Yes.
Everybody loves them. Angelo says that would be taken away from Bane, though. He was a brilliant chemist. Ooh.
I didn't know that, but if anything, you know, Wayne Enterprises employs a lot of people. Maybe Bruce doesn't make the formula, but maybe Wayne Enterprises has contracted. I don't know the character's name before he's Bane, but you know, there could definitely be a storyline there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Bruce himself. I see your point. Yeah.
And speaking of possible villains in the next movie, you know, I was reading something about Matt Reeves saying that he would love to do a down-to-earth, grounded version of Mr. Freeze, which would be interesting.
That would be tough to do. Ooh.
And well, I was thinking though, instead of like, there's actually real disorder. So I was watching some videos on how they could do a Mr. Freeze, because you know how he has to keep like a Sub-Zero, now Plain Zero.
Sure.
Like he has to keep. Wait, let's go to ask Mr. Freeze himself. Let's see if Mr. Freeze is willing to discuss this. Let me just buy some time by talking some more, and I don't know if Mr. Freeze is.
Mr. Freeze may be on ice right now.
He's iced. Hey.
Oh, there he is.
Oh. His mouth doesn't move. I gotta fix that. Nice to see you. Yeah, you know, I was thinking I got to keep my body Sub-Zero, now Plain Zero. But what if I had a body temperature regulation problem? See?
Oh yeah.
And then what if I overheat? You know, maybe I have a body temperature regulation problem and I have to wear a suit that keeps my body like around it here, the crotch area. Keeps it warm. I mean, keeps it cooler.
That is an important thing to do with crotches. In general, is keep them warm. Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, if I kept everything, especially my pectoral muscles, as you could see that there are windows displaying them.
Everyone loves a warm pec. Yeah, totally.
But the point is, I need a suit that keeps me from overheating. Instead of, that's actually a real thing, you know.
Okay. Yeah. PSA. Thanks, Mr. Freeze.
You're welcome. See you later. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Mr. Freeze.
Wow, what a nice cameo.
He's always nice. He's a good dude. He's a very good.
I said good day.
Okay, bye.
That would be really interesting, though. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, like what if Mr. Freeze has some kind of just physical? Because like clearly the Joker has some situations going on. Like he looks like he's had some.
And he looks like maybe a burn victim or something.
Yeah,
or maybe a chemical burn or something.
Something.
Which again, right? Acid vat was kind of his original origin story, right?
That was in Batman in the 1989.
One of them.
The original.
One of the comic arcs I read, I think, had or maybe I got all those wires crossed, but I've definitely seen him pushed into vats of acid many times.
Exactly. So that could definitely be one of the origins. Although what I love about the character the Joker is that nobody really knows nobody really knows where the Joker comes from, and that's
and Nolan had that great moment, of course, in The Dark Knight, where we really, or a couple of moments, I suppose, where we get the different
the stories,
the different backstories from you know, Heath Ledger himself.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Which genius.
Yeah, it's so.
I like this Mr. Freeze idea though.
Yeah,
you know, my first thought was, you know, in a grounded universe, I would certainly hope there is no like freeze ray weapon of some sort. You know, like we're used to seeing the gun.
Oh, it's called hyperthermia. That's what it's called.
Hyperthermia.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I could see some, maybe, you know, if we're sticking with the psychological kind of modality, somebody who's afflicted with that disorder and probably is also a psychopath might feel the need to make others feel his pain and, you know, lock them in a freezer, you know, just murder people in a way that revolves around cold weather, like being cold.
Right.
I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but you
or it
could
could take place in the winter.
Right. Yeah, we haven't seen any Batman snow pictures.
No.
Yeah.
Like
that'd be a nice change of pace.
That would look cool if Gotham was covered in snow.
Bruce is on vacation in Alaska and, you know, whatever.
Yeah. If Alaska even exists. I know that there was an Easter egg.
If Alaska exists.
I don't know if is Alaska a real place? I've never been there.
I've never been there, so I guess not.
Listen, I'm going to go by the logic of the flat earthers. I haven't seen it, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Solid. Irrefutable.
Angelo says, if he does, I hope he draws from Batman Sub-Zero. That was so haunting and sad. Imo Garan says, I'd love to see Reeves tackle Two-Face. I feel like Nolan screwed the pooch on it. What? I thought that was a good Two-Face. I thought, you know, there was a lot going on in that movie, and I think they did the dance pretty well.
I think in the context of that trilogy,
yeah,
Two-Face worked, but I could see if you were like a fan of the character and wanted to see a you know, he was really only in the last, you know, what, 20 minutes of The Dark Knight. And it's really more of just like a twist in a way of sending that character into like a dark spiral of some sort, right? You know? But yeah, I wouldn't even, he's not really a villain in that trilogy, right? So we haven't seen it since Tommy Lee Jones, in my opinion.
And in The Dark Knight, the end of The Dark Knight, I think it would have been cool because Two-Face couldn't feel pain or whatever after he got that thing severed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when he fell off and then, quote, died, and then there's a shot actually of like the SWAT team coming around his body. Like I feel like Two-Face
choice of words, but we know.
I feel like Two-Face.
That's a whole different movie. I think I've seen that one on Pornhub.
That is the sequel. I feel like he could have survived. I feel like Two-Face could have survived. Thank you.
This is a comic book film, so everyone survives.
Everyone survives. Even the Joker survived and still is technically alive in The Dark Knight Rises, but just doesn't show up. I'm Uncle Ron says Two-Face was the MacGuffin to get everyone mad at Batman. That's true, because Batman had to become the villain. He lived long enough to become the villain. God, I hate the Nolan movies. Oh my goodness, Ange, that's fighting words.
That's a hot take, but I am not. I'm coming around to her opinion a bit. Okay. I mean, I think The Dark Knight is great. I think The Dark Knight is a great film, and I don't think my mind is going to change on that.
Right.
But I was never the biggest Batman Begins fan. It's great. It's very good.
Yeah.
And I like it, but it was overrated for me personally by the audiences in general.
Really.
And The Dark Knight Rises is like trash, though.
Dark Knight Rises is not a great movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of a messed up.
It was like fun in theaters when I saw it, but
yeah,
you know, like many, I like to like movies, but you know, when I get home and get into bed, I realize it wasn't as good as I really hoped to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
My viewing experience, I think, is a bit colored because I always go now see it at the IMAX theater, the Chinese theater. Mm-hmm. And the whole audience there, usually on opening night, is just probably people who worked on the movie. So they're all like cheering and everything. So, I mean, there was some, I felt, unwarranted cheers in the Batman. They were just like, yeah.
There were some funny moments that my audience didn't catch. I laughed out loud pretty hard, but yeah.
Thumb drive. But I honestly think that that Pattinson's take on the Batman is, I don't think he's being human. I know Idris Will said that he had dark humor, but I just honestly think that this version of Batman, this might be controversial, but he's very I don't know what the word would be, but the way that Robert Pattinson is playing him, he feels like a very focused, like not a very he's not seeing necessarily the humor. He's seeing the pun though with the thumb drive. He's not seeing the humor in it. But
yeah. I was not sure entirely how I'd feel about Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne going into the movie. I was keeping a very open mind, wanted to like it and him, and I did.
Yeah,
I really bought him as that character.
I just loved his whole approach to the Batman. I think that
totally
he was. I think that aside from what Ange pointed out of Bruce Wayne in the hospital room next to Alfred, the entire movie. Even when he's not wearing the suit, he's Batman, and I think he's playing it that way. I think he's just so. I
might go on a limb and say he's my favorite Batman to date.
Really?
Yeah, it seems crazy to say.
Yeah,
but I think I'm going to say that right now.
Mine is still Adam West, of course.
Oh well.
Adam West, Boy Wonder. Do you think there should be Robin in the sequel? I think it's about time we had a freaking real Robin, because it is Batman and Robin. Robin predates the Joker. Every Batman movie just focuses on Batman being Batman, but it is Batman and Robin.
There's a reason we haven't had a good portrayal of Robin yet.
Why is that? Because he's not been a kid. He hasn't been 14 or 15.
Well, I don't think it's going to translate to cinema very well. Well, it hasn't yet.
Right.
I'm sure there's a way to do it. I don't think that nut has been cracked.
Do you know why? I was watching this thing. The reason why they had Robin, they added Robin like 15 issues into Batman, is because just Batman standing around thinking the whole time was not very compelling visually in a comic book.
Sure.
So he needed someone to talk to.
Someone to bounce those ideas off of.
Yeah. So so that was he's just his Watson basically. So Batman is Sherlock and
although I think that is a bit of a bit contrived at this point, and even in comics, right? Like, I think at this stage of comic book, or not this stage, by the time Alan Moore was around, and I just go to Watchmen, I'm like, I think a Rorschach style narration on the page fits Batman so much more than like a dialogue with another caped crusader.
Yeah.
And I think in cinema it's the same thing. You know, I actually really
well, that's the Blade Runner aspect of the Batman. It's just got that voiceover.
It just reminded me that there was narration and voiceover in this film, which I don't think we've seen a ton of in Batman movies, have we?
No. Well, no, actually The Dark Knight has
Does The Dark Knight have a lot of voiceover?
Yeah.
For whatever reason in this movie, that really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was used sparingly enough, and it was well written enough that it didn't stand out. Often voiceover for me is just cringy and but in this
tells the story.
And I guess it was motivated and this isn't an original thought as well. I think I read this somewhere, or in a YouTube video. But it was motivated apparently by the notes he was taking about the Gotham Project in the Batcave at some point.
Yes, it is.
I didn't catch that on my own, but I believe the argument that was made was that what we're hearing in the voiceover is just his writings.
I think in The Dark Knight that the voiceovers are actually motivated because he's talking to someone, and then the way that Nolan edits his films is actually he's very consistent with his style of editing. So in his movies, it's kind of cutting between there's a montage going on while Bruce Wayne is talking to someone, and they're sort of montaging. So those voiceovers are technically he's talking to somebody. Sure. But
really, I'm just happy to have more Batman in my life.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, "Why is there a new Batman? Why is there a new Batman?" I'm like, because money. Because Warner Brothers likes money, and DC wants to make money.
Let's be real. That's the number one reason, I guess, from a business perspective, of course. But you can make that argument about anything in the world, right? Everything exists. Almost everything in our capitalistic culture exists because of money.
It's true,
but the Batman is needed.
The Batman is,
For me, it's not about money. For you, it isn't.
But I'm willing to pay the money to go see the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the interesting thing. Well, you know what I always say on Aristotle Full Throttle? Corporations, their only algorithm is this: maximize profit, minimize loss. That's it. That's all they care. That's the only thing that motivates a corporation.
And that's why you get a bad third act in your film these days.
Well, why is that?
Because they're motivated. They're motivated by profits and not art.
Yes.
And if you're making that film as an artist, you don't throw that shit in there. I trust Matt Reeves enough to say that I don't think that was fully his choice. The decisions being made.
One thing I would do want to say about the Batman, which I could just heap praise upon forever, is the cinematography is just incredible.
Really, really well done.
It's just a
Beautiful
beautiful looking movie.
Totally.
I'm Uncle Ron says, also, Ange, Robin would have to be between 14 and 17, not a 30-year-old Chris O'Donnell.
Right.
This is true. He does need to be a teenager. Because Ange, he's referring to Ange's comment, which was, someone would have to really be creative and hit hard on the father-son relationship to make it translate well. Yeah, I mean, I think they might just go straight for Nightwing because of the whole... a Robin doesn't seem like a menacing type of creature, even though there is a reason he's called Robin because of the certain qualities of a Robin. I forget what that is exactly, but yeah, I want to see a Robin. I can see it happening right away. I can see it happening right in the second movie, him sort of taking someone, quote, under his wing, so to speak, and we'll see.
I think it'd be really analogous, or it could be really analogous to kind of the Catwoman dynamic in this film, right? Where it was a love interest instead of a sidekick or a training relationship, but filling a similar role in terms of maybe being an element in the detective narrative, as someone who could get into places that Batman can't get into and learn things that he can't learn. But I'm hard pressed to really picture a hard hitting, fighting, physically fit 14-year-old Robin in today's social climate. It just would feel kind of weird.
I think they could go with 15 or 16. So he's sort of like...
It's child labor,
Yeah.
Wayne Enterprises is above that.
I do feel like there's an angle for the father-son thing, because I think that can be a motivation for Bruce Wayne to figure out his own relationship to his lineage by taking someone on.
It's really dangerous, though.
It
just could be so corny, so easy. Or
think
cringy,
Guardians of the
easy.
Galaxy 2. I loved the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with the whole father-son theme throughout the entire movie. Did you like that movie?
I like it. I liked it better the second time I saw it. I didn't love it the first time. But.
I love that movie. I think it can be cheesy, but I think it could also be done well.
That's such a different, such a different tone that you're hitting with those films. The Guardians movies are not at all similar to what you're looking for in a Batman movie.
They are very cartoonish.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot more in that universe than you can in Batman's universe, because what makes Batman so special is that he could exist in our world so believably. Then it's like, that is to me what I love so much about those stories, is that I buy it.
He's a detective.
He has no the Batman could exist in LA today. He wouldn't be quite as successful as the Batman in the comics and movies. He'd probably get arrested and thrown in prison at some point. But, he could exist.
There are superheroes in real life. There's a guy in Seattle, I think, or Portland, who dresses like a superhero and literally beats up muggers and stuff like that. I forget his name. It's like, but there are people who are in reality trying to do some of these things.
And isn't that kind of the kick-ass idea?
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically, there's a few.
He does have a kick-ass wipeout.
Matt Reeves directed Kick-Ass too, didn't he?
Did he? He might have.
Somebody with a similar name, I think.
Yeah, someone.
Let's go with that.
I'm going to say a white dude directed.
Chances are high.
Chances are high that 95% of directors in Hollywood. But just as something that jumped into my mind, I loved the sparring scene between... Well, it was sparring for Batman, essentially. I mean, Catwoman was throwing some real good punches, but that scene where he just shows up while she's trying to burglarize.
Yeah.
And he's just like...
I mean, it's a love scene, really. It's a dance.
It is, really.
Yeah.
It is a dance. I do love that Matthew Vaughn.
I would say the first name. That's all that matters, is the first name. Yeah.
There's someone named Matt.
Thank you for that.
I think, though, that was a great, Batman just sort of blocking everything. I do appreciate this new arc, this new Batman, this new Gotham. The Gotham was a character in this movie, and I think it's really cool just to see that he has these skills and we don't know why. I think that's even more interesting. I do like the Nolan trilogy and seeing that Batman becomes a legit ninja, but the fact that you could tell that this guy has just got it together mentally and has just thought everything 10 steps ahead. And the thing about this too, what I wanted to address about Lee talking about the Batman and how he was not essential in the movie The Batman, I think, though, that's like the point. I think the point is he's just not Batman yet. Because when we think of Batman, we think of the guy who's like airtight logic. Like he's thought of every step all the way, except for Martha. He didn't think, oh, my name's my mom's name. He has thought out everything. That's the Batman we know. That's the mature Batman. But this is the Batman who's like the first time, how am I going to get out of here? What am I going to do?
Is this a coming of age story in a sense? You know, because that's what that leads me to is I feel like in a coming of age story, I think like Almost Famous or something, you know, your protagonist is somebody who is observing a world, and we as an audience are also experiencing that world for the first time. And we are seeing how it impacts them and how it affects their growth and who they will become by the end of the film to some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. That's not a fully formed thought, but it's interesting maybe to look at it through that lens a bit, right? Like, and you mentioned it earlier, you know, he is as inept as he is meant to be. He is as much of an observer as he is meant to be, because I do feel he is our eyes as the audience, right? You know, we are going into this story through his perspective. We know what he knows. We learn what he learns as he learns it. So in a detective story, it makes sense for him to be an imperfect character for us, because if he knew everything already, we would know everything already, and there's no story there. There's no movie to watch, right?
I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
No, I agree. I think it is very much a not fully formed Batman. He's not Batman yet. He's getting there, because that's why I think the suit is so low grade, and I think that the next iteration of the suit, the next iteration of the Batmobile, it's like he's gone through these trials, and now he's like, okay, I need to prepare for the next movie and upgrade my gear. So
yeah, I hope they don't go too hard in that direction, because for me that's like when every movie is just a stepping stone to the next movie that's like going to be the upgraded version. You know, for me that's very like played out kind of, and like and it's a little bit of what still drives me a little nuts about this movie is we're getting away from the emotional center of this narrative, right? We're getting away from what is the story, what serves this film. Let's set the superhero bullshit aside. Let's, you know.
Well, I think that this movie does stand alone pretty well. It does plant seeds for sequels, and I think the original intent was to make this movie a standalone until they said, wait, how do we make more money?
You know what I'm really hoping for?
What? The
Matt Reeves cut. I'm really hoping for a director's cut of this.
17 hours.
That just proves me that just satisfies what I want to see in this movie, you know? I would love to be like, oh yeah, that's the movie I wanted. I agree, Matt. You did it.
So ultimately, you think that the Joker scene should have stayed?
Personally, I think it was a much stronger scene than many of the scenes we saw in the last 30 to 45 minutes.
It's a pretty solid scene. He's kind of out of focus most of the scene until we start to see that he's like severely disfigured, and it's kind of a disturbing.
And if we're gonna reveal the Joker at the end anyway as being like a character that we are going to clearly be engaging with more as the series goes on, I'm not sure how many films they're hoping to make, but I really don't think it hurts to have an extra 4 minutes where we can really fall in love with their portrayal and be excited to see him again.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I would, if anything, it would have made the reveal of the Joker at the end less like eye rolly for me.
It was a little eye rolly
for me
like too.
Any audience is surprised the Joker is going to be involved in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
He's the villain that is the most beloved by all.
And I really do think, and I was hoping for this in The Dark Knight Rises, which was the sequel, but we could not get this because of Heath Ledger's unfortunate, untimely passing. But, multiple movies with the Joker and cohorts versus Batman. I think that is what I need in at least 2 consecutive movies where it's almost like there's a rematch. It's like the Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Luke loses the first time in Empire, and then he wins. Well, loses again, actually. in Return of the Jedi, technically. Could have won, but the Emperor.
Yeah. And to Angie's point, it was a strong scene, but story-wise, she understands why they cut it.
Yeah.
In this context, I agree, but I'm coming from like the frame, like in the story I'm writing in my head. In the story, in the way the script ends in my head, I feel like that could have fit perfectly into what I wanted the movie to be.
Yeah.
And in my movie, there are no bombs. There is no water filling Gotham.
Right.
The incels, I think, were a really interesting idea. The idea that he has followers and like, I like the way they were kind of trying to tie into our times and stuff. But I think it was already interesting enough just having them referenced in the social media and being involved emotionally. I think that was almost enough. And there could have been a couple more little ways of making that palatable or palpable to the audience, but I really didn't need them to be
literally dressed exactly the same.
And come on, we know in real life those people aren't some, I mean, even in the movie, of course, they weren't presented as some super soldiers that were really effective. But at that point, then why are they the final boss battle that Batman has to fight? A bunch of incels that don't know what they're doing?
I think a little thing that took me out of that scene too was that they were all perfectly dressed. I feel like they could have all been like a hodgepodge of.
And there was no real effort put in to make it feel like that's exactly that's who they were. That they were this like hodgepodge group of incels from Gotham that were just, Riddlers in waiting, right? It didn't feel like that. They just felt like henchmen.
Right.
It was like we're fighting the henchmen, but the supervillain's already in jail. So like,
it's a bunch of like punching.
Yeah, it felt so much like a forced excuse to have a climactic action scene.
Yeah.
With bombs exploding and people in the water, in danger, and that he has to. It just felt so forced. It did not serve the story, in my opinion. I think. It did not help me get any insight into who Batman is. It didn't help me learn anything about where his character is going. It was just, honestly, for me, kind of boring. Can we get this over with?
Well, I would argue that him, like, literally almost sacrificing himself with taking the batarang off his chest and slicing the electric wire. I think that was a moment that was like, that could be arguably what that was all about, was him sacrificing himself for Gotham, but surviving.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I don't buy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd buy that for $1. It says, as fans, we do write our story. I completely felt. Oh, she said y'all could keep Heath's Joker. Hey, oh my own. It says, I think that was a shot at Proud Boys, cameo for the current times. I agree with that, actually.
No, totally. Well, yeah, and maybe not even them specifically, but that whole, there's enough of them.
Yeah,
they're all those clowns.
Also, speaking of Seven,
what's in the box? What's in the box?
But to her point, I felt that cameo was reinforced enough through the social media dialogue that we kind of see on screen. Just the fact that the Riddler is obviously such a crazy psychopath, and that there are any number of people in the comment section supporting him and being and egging him on and all of that. I felt like that was accomplished in that enough, Yeah, and they could have been utilized in other story ways if they wanted. But to me, that was a bridge too far, making them the final boss battle. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they could have all been like Kyle Rittenhouse looking. But you know
what I mean? Like, this is the final set piece. That is not like.
It didn't feel like.
That is not a worthy adversary.
Right.
They are no different or better than the henchmen he fights in the first action scene when
he just punches
at the subway
them all.
station. Yeah, it's just that's not. If you're gonna have a climactic action scene with henchmen, scrap the climactic action scene and let's have an actual badass psychological climax with the Riddler, who was such a better character, and we needed more Paul Dano anyway. Give me more.
Yeah, I think he's coming. I think they're just gonna all accumulate throughout the series, and then I hope they do. I hope that Batman does have to fight, like, literally almost.
Send them all back to Arkham.
Send them all back.
They'll have the Arkham prison break.
They'll break, and then he's got to go collect them all. And it'll be really fascinating.
Catch them all.
Exactly. I should get that as a sound effect. Ange is with you on that. Let's look at some of the great things about that movie. That car chase was one of the craziest,
so good,
amazing car chases I've ever seen, and it was in the rain.
Was it the best since The French Connection?
It might have been the best car chase I've seen ever.
I just want to pretend like I know stuff about cinema history.
Yeah, French Connection. That was the one with Gene Hackman.
Yeah, that's the one.
Flawless victory.
That is it. No,
it was a great movie. Yeah, I will say, see it if you haven't. There's a lot of great Easter eggs, like you mentioned. If you're a big Batman fan, I think you will be happy. even if you are like me and disappointed by the ending.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be perfect.
Not everything is perfect.
Or will be. Or
I think,
can be.
I think what the...
I could talk about this movie for days. I have a feeling we got to go, though, huh?
Well, we can wrap it up. I'm actually going to see a concert today. I'm going to go see AFI, A Fire Inside, or Ask For It. Depends on your interpretation. The best car chase scene ever, says Ange. Yeah, it was legitimately the most incredible car. Because here's what I loved about it. It's that you could see it was very character-driven.
Yeah,
so to speak. Pun intended. You can see Batman just he's not going to give up. Like, he is completely determined, completely dedicated to that entire chase. And even when he's like spinning out and hitting things, you see how much like we learn about how armor plated the car is when Penguin is shooting the window and it's like it's bulletproof glass. It's fantastic. And Batman is not flinching. He's like, it's a metaphor
for his tenacity, right?
Yes, I'm going to catch you. There
is no getting away from this Batman.
Exactly. So that's what I loved about that scene. It's just there's just no stopping him when he's got his sights on you.
God, I'm excited to see where they take the Penguin from here.
And it was so mythical for that moment to just happen to work out where he could jump through the flames, and it was such a beautiful moment.
Money, yeah.
And he's upside down walking toward the Penguin, just like terrified.
Yeah.
So that to me that's the midpoint of the movie.
Yeah, the horror that Batman is able to spread into the hearts of his foes in that movie was really expertly crafted, and something we don't see a lot of or any of in other Batman films.
Yeah, like I've always felt like the terror was just sort of played in the movie and in the script and not necessarily on the screen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's written into the characters, it's written into what we see, but like the fact that you can actually viscerally feel
it, yes.
The adrenaline
totally.
Of this guy trying his hardest to get away from Batman and just not succeeding.
I mean, those opening shots of criminals committing acts of illegal activity and looking around just into shadowed corners,
Yes.
And we as an audience are kind of expecting the Batman to emerge, and then he doesn't, right? That little montage, or it is so good. It's just so good.
This movie, I think, was the first movie where Batman did seem like a terrifying figure.
Totally.
Which was amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, go see the Batman. Check out the new Joker scene that was deleted. Actually, Matt Reeves put that up on the internet, and we just watched it. If you are tuning in on the podcast, thank you for listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the podcast platforms. Travis, where can they find you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on this podcast again one day, hopefully.
Yes, of course. You're always invited back. Ange and everybody. I'm Uncle Ron and everybody and everybody. And on Studio 8H and Wesley Plackey, thank you guys for chiming into the conversation. It's always fun when we talk about comic books and movies and TV shows and music and current events. That's what this podcast is about, in case you didn't.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, of course, Travis, you're always welcome here at Aristotle Full Throttle. High five. Good job.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, just like George Bush in 2004. Hey, all right. It says the best car chase scene ever by Ange. This is going to be the 45-minute outro, Ange. Just another shout out.
I can destroy everything, but I'm not. But I can.
I could do this all day.
All right. Well, I don't know. Any final thoughts?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right. See you on. I don't know when I'll see you guys next, because I'm actually going to be in San Diego for a week. I'm going to be working, but maybe I'll check in. If you guys are listening or you guys are on Discord, I will check in with you guys on Discord. Say hello to your mother for me. Good night, everybody.
Take care of each other.
Yes.